I didn't really get the chance to tell you that I apologize.
Okay.
I want to do whatever it takes to mend things with you, and
It's over.
Awesome! Welcome to part 5 of my Anfisa and George rewatch videos. In part 4, Anfisa got her green card and then got into a big fight with George's sister. So once again, George packed a bag, but he wheeled his suitcase away for real this time. He does not come back with flowers, and they don't just make up like usual. This time, they seem to actually really break up.
she said that she didn't care what my life would turn out as long as hers would be great.
And Anfisa does not know if this is really the end of their marriage. At this point, you want it to be over. I mean, what does George have to offer that Anfisa wants anymore? He has no money. He lied a lot. She has her green card now. And let's be honest, we've been hoping it was over every time George wheeled the suitcase out. But by default, you pretty much just wait for them to get back together again. That is what this has turned into. Breakup, makeup, breakup, red bag with my makeup. Although this time, they do start to actually live apart. George's sister still doesn't believe they are over, like everyone else.
I'm gonna believe that this relationship is over when he shows me that there is divorce papers.
But they start to live separate lives, reconnect with friends, and you really start to think that this might really be it. That their split is final. There's just one hang-up.
I still love her, and I don't know where that leaves me.
They both start to say in different scenes that they miss each other.
I care about him. We do have this bond.
Anfisa does seem to really actually miss George. So eventually we see George go to buy Anfisa a present. It's like this full circle moment back in the shop where he was in their very first few episodes. I actually at first thought he was in the shop to buy that $10,000 Chanel bag she asked for at the beginning of their entire story, but he's not. He buys her like a bracelet that's probably a few $100s. So they have decided to meet up and talk about what is next for them. They set this up like they're gonna meet up outside, get back together, which they're all dressed nice. It almost looks like a scene from Fast and Furious. George wants to make up fast and Anfisa is always furious.
I apologize.
Okay.
But it does not go well.
The problem is that he doesn't stand up for me. And that's what he should do instead of bringing gifts.
Yeah, she's not into it. She doesn't even open the gift. I bet he's glad it wasn't that $10,000 Chanel bag. Also, that's when you know she's really serious. There could be money in there. She says that George won't change. And she knows that because he doesn't even seem to be sure about what he's apologizing for.
I'm apologizing for the argument that happened.
But what was the argument about?
What happened? Whatever happened.
So instead of reconciling, she's got her green card and she's out.
It's over.
But even though this has been a toxic relationship, and George no longer has to deal with the screaming, getting his phone tracked, constantly packing his suitcase, he doesn't take this breakup well at all.
Is there really no chance of us getting back together?
No.
I guess George moves back in with his parents, and Anfisa gets her own apartment. Things are seeming very permanent with their split, but George just isn't over it.
She broke my heart, and I want revenge.
Anfisa, on the other hand, seems to be moving on with her life in the US.
I'm planning to go back to school, but George is not giving me any money.
So this gets a little strange filming-wise for a few scenes. Because we at first see the scenes where apparently George really does want revenge. He even goes back to the lawyer's office.
I'm thinking about filing for divorce.
But it makes me think that the divorce lawyer scene was filmed earlier. I don't know if it's just his haircut. He just looks different to me in these two scenes. It makes me think that George did initially have a plan to go through with the divorce, and they had planned to come back around to add to the storyline that the claws were coming out and this was going to be a nasty divorce.
Like, you want to see mean, I'll be mean.
Because we go from this really serious meeting where they talk about the validity of Anfisa's green card since they separated so fast after their wedding. But then when he's out talking with his friend a few scenes later, they're talking about the tell-all and his tone is completely different.
I said some things during the tell-all that were lies just to get under Anfisa's skin.
He goes from seeming like he wants revenge to being apologetic for how he came off on the tell-all, and possibly wants to get back with Anfisa. So with the tell-all, he had hinted in the tell-all that Anfisa was supporting herself by working in the adult entertainment industry. I think a lot of people were wondering, how is she paying for her own apartment, her own car? I wondered the same thing. So on the tell-all, he basically was trying to call her out and make her look bad. And now he's saying that everything he said in the tell-all was not true. Just quickly to talk about his claims that she was working in the adult entertainment industry. When I looked into this, it had turned out that people had found out evidence after the tell-all that these rumors were not made up out of nowhere. People found pictures and videos of someone that looked a lot like Anfisa on different websites. In that process, though, it also came out that George had not actually met Anfisa on Facebook. A YouTuber had claimed George had not actually met Anfisa on Facebook. He had actually supposedly met her on a camgirl website, which I think makes sense because a lot like Mike and Jimena, there seemed to be this transactional start to their relationship. In the first few scenes, we hear her talking about wanting this $10,000 Chanel purse, and then when he didn't give it to her, she did not get on the plane to come to the US. I completely believe that. I don't want to dive too deeply into what she did or did not do as a job at that time. I mean, she got her green card, she supports herself, she went on to get her degree, continued her education. But in general, with George here, his tone of revenge flips. It completely flips. Now he wants to meet up with Anfisa and talk.
I do regret it because, I mean, at the end of the day, like, it was lies that I said to make her look that way.
And he hopes that they can actually get back together again. At first, Anfisa does not want to meet up, but after some convincing, she agrees.
Okay, let's meet for dinner.
I was actually quite surprised that she even agreed to meet up at all. She seemed to be doing just fine on her own, going back to school, getting her own apartment. And when she does finally meet up with George, she doesn't really seem that interested in what George has to say. He's boring her already.
Mike the House Elf wants to remind you to subscribe to this channel.
Has given Dobby a shock. Dobby is free.
If you don't, he will appear in your room tonight to tell you he loves you.
So I can't tell if they just did this for the show. I'm guessing probably, but they come up with a plan to try to make things work one last time.
Maybe we could try some help, like couple therapy.
I think what gives away that this is for the show, at least to me, is that Anfisa seems so calm in these scenes. Like, I don't get the feeling that she wanted to get back with George at all. And I continue to feel that way when we watch her have George move into her apartment with her.
Are you happy that I'm moving back in?
I don't know.
I don't see any hope in her, any excitement that it'll work out. But part of their plan is that they did agree to go to couples therapy together. They also start going on dates, but overall their issues are still the same.
He has lied to me so many times that I just can't trust him.
And during this last shot that they give their relationship, in my part 6 video, their final attempts to get back together all stems on the fact that George and Anfisa work out their issues in couples counseling. And it doesn't go well. And as this all comes to an end, part 6 is my last video about George and Anfisa. Things take an even crazier turn when George's legal issues catch up to him. That video will be posted on my next posting day. I will put the part 6 posting date in a pinned comment on this video. If you are watching this later and part 6 is already posted, the link will be included in the description below. Anyways, thanks for watching. Bye!